The Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast is dedicated to all things Horus Heresy. This podcast delves into the grimdark universe where Primarchs clash, legions rise, and loyalties fracture faster than a Land Raider's track. But it's not just about the lore of the Horus Heresy. The Accountabilibuddies also explore the gaming side of things, from painting and modeling tips to product reviews and ideas to help you in your hobby. So, whether you're a seasoned Forge World veteran or a fresh-faced scout, this podcast is your Vox channel to the galaxy. Expect discussions on lore, modeling, gaming, and maybe even the shenanigans that your hosts somehow seem to find their way into. Remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there are only two things you can count on: heresy and your trusty Accountabilibuddies.
Welcome to episode 117 of Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast. Tonight, we have a jam-packed show for you. You're going to hear somebody else's voice other than ours, and we're excited about that. But first, for the host of tonight, we have myself, Jack, and
Brian.
Jamie.
Yeah,
John.
they messed it up again.
and Jack. And we have a special guest tonight. Some say his tears are adhesive, and if he caught fire, he would burn for 1,000 days. All we know, he's called Chris Bergeron. Chris?
What's up, guys? Nice to be back on Accountability.
Outstanding.
Good to have you
We
back,
are
man.
happy to have you on here tonight, brother. We're extremely happy for you to share your knowledge, your wisdom, your insight, your guidance, your witty party, if you will.
You build me up way too much, man. Just way too much.
But before we get to all of the good stuff, because he's here and it's not us tonight, we're going to do a quick station identification.
Do you love resin bases? Then go to our sponsor, Elric Hobbies, for all of your basing and basing accessory needs. Use code HeresyABB at checkout for a discount. Legendary Monument Hobbies. Monument Hobbies is a one-stop shop for all of your painting needs. Use code HeresyABB at checkout for a 5% discount on your purchase. Pop Goes the Monkey. Find maker of third-party accessory bits of arms, legs, backpacks, and more, where you can get 10% off your first order over $125 with code HeresyABB at checkout.
And thank you to our Patreons. Without you, all of these shenanigans would not be afloat. So kick it off into the normal parts of the show. John, Mr. Hobby Maniac, what all have you been doing?
I don't know why y'all keep calling me Hobby Maniac. I got a normal amount of stuff done this week. It wasn't
For
that
you,
much.
baby. For everybody
was-
else, it makes us look like we don't do anything at all, man.
So I told y'all last week that I got all the Pegasus Hobby stuff cleaned up, and I was going to use that for the basis for the Serpentor statue falling over. But one of the online retailers happened to load up on a bunch of old, discontinued Forge World buildings. So those came in, and I started cleaning them up using my Dremel tool, and ended up going and cleaning up all the buildings that I had on hand, and then all of the other things that I could randomly get my hands on around the house, and ended up being outside about an hour and a half, and went through 4 different Dremel batteries as I went through and cleaned up all the gates off all this old models and stuff. And so I'm starting to lay out the Pegasus Hobby stuff, and then I remembered with kind of an old joke Christine and I had that never half-ass 2 things, whole-ass 1 thing. And so I took the Pegasus Hobby stuff off, and I put down the old Forge World ruins on the 2x2 tile I was using, and it looked so much better with that Serpentor statue in the middle of it. The downside is, to get that Serpentor statue to work, I had to hit it with a hammer for like 30 minutes straight.
Dude, that was awesome. I watched the little mini vids you put up of it. It was awesome. You busted that, especially knowing how expensive that thing is.
Yeah, so if anyone forgets, this is a $900 statue I'm sitting there hitting with a hammer in my backyard over and over again. I'll put the videos up on our on my Instagram and our Instagram for the show, just to so everyone can kind of laugh at them. They're little 20-minute or 20-second videos that I was like, I'll just record this as I hit it with a hammer so I can see how it breaks if I need to change something. But yeah, the first leg broke accidentally like a couple weeks ago, and the second leg didn't want to break. And then after it finally broke, I couldn't get the leg off because there's this giant steel pin running down the middle of it, so I had to cut that with a Dremel. But anyway, I've got how I want to lay out the Serpentor statue in the crashed building now. I need a couple more ruined walls, which I've already placed the order for. And then that tile will be basically complete. Again, this is kind of the centerpiece tile on the table. And then alongside it's going to be that crashed ship that's going to be spilling the smoke over the tile and all over the whole table. Some of the other stuff that I managed to clean up while I had the Dremel tool out was a crashed resin vertibird from the Fallout game, a couple of old Forge World resin bunkers. There was a Kickstarter for a bunch of Empire look-alike models, and inside of that they had this add-on for a giant Chaos Star and a kind of Balrog-looking demon coming out of the middle of it, and I went ahead and cleaned that off and went ahead and glued it while I was at it so I can put that in the middle of a building I want to build this week. And I also managed to build a junkyard tile. So I took the crane from the old GW sets and then added that to the bottom or to the top of one of the gun emplacements, and then kind of had some trash tiles and semantic stuff strewn around. Kind of the Easter egg in the middle of that tile is an old ODST drop pod from the Halo Lego figures that came out. And then I made another shipping container tile to go with all this stuff. So that was pretty much it for me. I only got 2 tiles built and a bunch of stuff carved up, and then a bunch of other stuff kind of ready to put together. While we're going tonight, I'm gonna be clipping out a whole bunch of more terrain. I bought probably about 6 buildings worth of the newer GW terrain, and so I've been clipping that apart as we kind of worked together a little bit earlier on this show. And I also managed to get a lot more cleaning up done in the garage. So sadly, IKEA is sold out of the Kallax that I need to finish organizing the garage. But whenever that finally gets back in stock, I can finish the project for that. So I'll at least have drying racks for all this terrain as I go through it. That is everything I got up to this week. What about Jamie?
So what did I get done this week? I built 2 Land Raiders. That's it. I've been burning it at both ends with a lot of stuff going on around the house and kids and stuff. So, but I mean that's pretty 2 new plastic Land Raiders. They're not an easy kit to build, but not hard. They're just a lot of parts, so it takes a little while to build them. So that's me. That's it. I wish I had more, but I don't. So let's go with Jack, which Jack may have less than me.
I came back from my work trip at our every other year convention with both my kidneys.
That's always a positive.
And the mist did not kill me while we're on a plane for 5 hours. And then I kicked it over to Duncan.
So before I start, because I've been extra productive this week, I got to ask, John, while you were building all that stuff, how many times did you cut yourself?
Okay, we weren't. I thought we weren't going to talk about this, but
Okay.
I'll say so when I went to IKEA this week and I found out they were sold out of the big Kallax, I bought the little Kallax. Picking up the little Kallax, I sliced open my finger. Like, it's not like a little paper cut; it's a thick cardboard cut, and it goes around the finger. It almost degloved me.
Oh
We
my
need one of
Lord.
those like workplace accident counters, like days between John getting cut, to put stuff someplace, man.
Then when I went to Home Depot to get the 2x2 masonite squares cut. For some reason, when I picked up the masonite, it pinched the other finger on the other index finger on my left hand, and for some reason that cut that index finger off, or in pretty deeply, and it's got a big ring around it now.
Oh my Lord.
And then one of the tiny little like incidental little nicks that I had a couple weeks ago wasn't healing right, so I had to kind of trim off some of the excess skin and for some reason that like it decided to just keep going, and so that's gone wrapped around the entire index finger. So all of the pad of my left index finger is missing right now.
Jesus Christ, John.
And that was
Okay,
like a
well,
little bitty, like less than a centimeter cut, like, and it just randomly just kept peeling, like that drawing where it was like, oh, what could happen with a hangnail, and it goes all the way up his arm. Like that's basically what's happening.
Well, good news.
Jesus.
I cut all of this out of the podcast because I don't want to hear it. Ugh.
Makes
We
me
know you
hurt
don't
just
edit that
thinking about
much.
it.
Oh Lord.
You did this,
Well,
Duncan.
you're right. I did. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say I'm sorry that has happened, John. So yeah.
Mm.
So what did I get done this week? Well, of the 8 Land Raiders sitting on my table, all of them have their base metals down. All of them have. Okay, so hang on. Let me restart. I've got 8 Land Raiders on the table. All of them have the base metals down. All of them have their white down. All of them have a seal applied, the gloss seal, and I'm applying blues to all of those. I've got blue on 2 of them right now. I've got the tracks 100% done for how I do my tracks for the 3 or 4 different layers of the metals on there, whereas the rest of the metals only have 1 layer right now. But it's going. Part of the issue for me this week was I ran out of painter's tape, and the painter's tape that I acquired is a bit too sticky versus
Hold
the
it off.
miniature
Did you,
tape that I used.
did you do the pants trick?
Yeah, I did the pants trick on this stuff, and it has worked on this stuff to not create an issue. But earlier, it was trying to be too sticky. The stuff I had previously was specifically for miniatures and paint, and it worked a lot better because it wasn't too sticky. It literally was very, very barely sticky.
What
When you
did you
say too
buy?
sticky, was
So
it
I will
pulling up your
say,
base layer or something?
It was trying to pull up the base layers.
I will
Yeah.
say
Or,
that Daiso has started stocking Tamiya tape, like a
that's
knockoff
what
Japanese brand.
I had Tamiya
Oh,
tape before, but apparently I ran out.
okay, because I can get you some of that, and they've also got some new stuff that's got tape on one side and then like a cling film on the other side, so it extends the length of your masking.
No, I didn't get anything like that. I went and got what I had immediately available after checking my local hobby stores, and I got Scotch Blue because it was available.
Ooh.
I know.
See, that's what I use all the time, and I never have an issue.
Frog
the
tape's
pants
a pretty good replacement too from freaking Lowe's or Home
Yeah.
Depot. The green frog tape.
Didn't try
Yeah.
that, but I will take that as under advisement. I just went to the Home Depot and got this stuff when I couldn't find the stuff elsewhere.
Yep.
So, all right. Other than that, been working on these guys pretty hard, trying to get them ready for Adepticon. Spent some time working on other stuff for Adepticon, but that's about it. And I will go ahead and say, Brian, what have you done this week?
The wife and I built 2 Sakiran hulls almost completely out. And I ran a narrative event yesterday all day. And that's pretty much about it. I don't think I did any more work on the demons over this past week. And I think that brings us down to our guest. What did Chris do this week?
Yeah, I've actually gotten some stuff done this week. I'm usually painting for work, and painting for work means I don't paint a lot for myself. But I've running out of time, so I've got to get my. I'm doing Warhounds for Adepticon because I'm going to team up with my buddy Jamie from Germany again. So got a 1,500 point list. I'm cranking through. I got my Dreadnought built and base colors down. I got my command squad with lightning claws built. Base colors down, and 2 rhinos based. So, and design some decals. I'm actually designing custom decals. I'm going to print them for the Warhounds. I'm adding some swords and some swords through crowns and some 6-zipper Tyrannus decals, Death to Tyrants. Because these are Black Shield Warhounds. So guys that left the World Eaters and are basically giving the finger to the traitors and the freaking loyalists and doing their own thing.
Nice.
So that was the
nice.
big thing. I've gotten a lot done at work, but we'll talk about work when we get to what I do. So I paint. I'm painting almost 7 to 8 hours a day now. So which has been intense and awesome.
Well, I personally dig all this. It sounds like fun stuff you're working on.
I can't wait to see your army at Dethroned because every year you just kill it. So
Yeah.
Yep.
This,
Knocks it out
this
apart.
one is especially this one's like a heartstring. Freaking I saw the video for the Warhound method that Henry put up on Cult of Paint, and that I think that came out like 8 months ago. And when I saw that video, I was like, yeah, you're doing a Warhounds army. It's just gonna happen. So, and then when Jeremy asked me to play doubles again, it's just a good way to get a 1,500 point force built instead of having to chew through 3,000 points. And then if you like it, chew through the rest of it. But it's a good excuse to make a good ZM force and a good, buddy pair up list. So it's a good way to do a new army.
Okay. Well, I've got to ask, what's the basis behind it? Is it non-traders or pre-heresy or?
They're post nails. So these are the guys that when mainly Terrans, that when Angron was forced upon them and Angron decided that they were all taking the nails. This is a group of them that were not with the unit that basically said we're not taking the nails, and we're done with Angron because he's a madman, and we're done with the Emperor because he gave us Angron. So we're going to go out and kind of do our own thing. Basically almost a space pirate Black Shield theme. They want to bring they actually, I wouldn't say they want to bring everything down. They don't care what's going on. They want to be left alone, with the exception of scavenging everything that they need to survive and create their own little fiefdom somewhere in the Empire.
Okay. That
So,
that sounds like a fun way of doing them.
just something different.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing this on the table, brother. I really do. So
that takes us
Yeah.
to the news.
that takes us to the news.
John.
News. So obviously this week we had the official drop of all of the stuff that we talked about last week for pre-orders. So that comes in with the Mechanicum Heavy Support Force, a little more expensive than Jamie and I had kind of predicted at $185 for the 3 units, the 2 tanks and the Thalax. The Caster of Runes, the Iron Hands Legion Praetor, the Loyalist Herald, the Traitor Herald, the Loyalist Overseer, the Traitor Overseer, the Secutari Axiarch, and the Acutor Magisterium all clock in at 44 US. And then the Iron Warriors Warsmith clocks in at $52. I don't know if we discussed it at the time, but it looks like the Iron Warriors Warsmith, remember this is the one that's got the Warhammer World variant.
Yeah.
The Warhammer World variant also comes with a completely different flesh head, head, not just a completely different pose. So
yeah, they both have different heads.
Yeah, the one that comes on the one that's going to be coming with the general release doesn't have the mustache. So if you remember the one, because there was kind of a face that looked more like a Russian cosmonaut.
Yeah, I remember that one.
That's the Warhammer World exclusive head.
Okay.
Which sucks because I like that unhelmeted head better.
I think we all like that one. But they
also put up for pre-order some of the Black Library Celebration stuff. The Hell's Last, which is a bunch of Cadians that went up for $80 for 5 Cadian models. Is a little expensive on my opinion, but I guess they're characters, so that's going to be happening. For previews for next weekend,
everybody
really
break
just
here.
Yeah, it's just a drop of the S&M guys. So the 40K versions of Champions of Slanesh box set is coming out, and it looks like the Lord Exultant is also going to get its own. I can't tell if these are separate releases or if they're just a single release of the box set, but there's also an Eldar Combat Patrol and a bunch of Fabius Bile, a Lucius book that's coming out as well. On the merch side, so last year, it was about this time, Weta announced that they were coming out with a bunch of quarter-scale Space Marine helmets. I went ahead and pre-ordered the Ultramarines one at that time, but now they're starting to go up for pre-order on merch.warhammer.com. If you order them direct from Weta, they're $99 plus shipping. If you order them from GW, they're $130 plus shipping. So it's up to you on who you want to order them from. The original first draft set was going to be the Ultramarines, the Space Wolf, and the Blood Angel. And then the second set, which for some reason is releasing at the exact same time, is the Khorne Berserker, the Dark Angel, and a Eldar Striking Scorpion helmet. So all the helmets are the same price. They come with a big stand. Not too bad looking. I thought it was worth $100 for a pretty little shelf ornament. If you've got access to a 3D printer and a good friend, I think you could probably find some nice files that are be about as detailed as these are, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Starforged, they claim it's new, but I don't necessarily know how new it is, but I'm not that up on Space Marine 2 or 40K's weapons. There is a auto bolt gun keychain that has come out for pre-order for $23.50 from them. And Heresy Thursday this week, we saw the preview article for a Ursarak cohort. So these have been in plastic or in resin before. Now you can get a box of 6 with 2 can swap their Power Fist for Lightning Claws. Before they were sold in resin boxes of 3. So
And you can
definitely
build them
a
and then
decent
leave them on the
change.
shelf because their rules are trash.
Absolutely. Sucks because they're
So
really
saith
nice
our
looking now with
commander.
the extra. Yeah, they're nice looking now with the new jetpack design. It's got
They
a
are
bunch
pretty.
of different little vectors, but yeah, it's sad that they just have such shit weapon skill and initiative to go.
That's all they need. All they need. If it's a close combat unit, there's no reason why it doesn't get a 1-point weapon skill bump. I mean, that's
Their
what the unit's
helmet-
supposed to do.
The only thing I didn't like was their helmets were a little weird.
No,
They've always had that kind of
I
helmet.
saw your comment on that, Jamie. They look a lot like the old ones because I've got 12 of them in the freaking case over here, and I went and looked at them. They change it up a tiny amount, but it's always been that kind of Blood Bowl football Thalax
Gotcha.
kind of helmet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you could probably do
Yeah, but-
cooler with some of the different Thalax helmets that you get in the Thalax box, though.
Maybe. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's some really sweet new options. That's one of the neat things that's been going on with the Mechanicum update with all the plastics coming out is there are some little extra bits that we just didn't see in the resin. The resin was basically 6 of them. You know, you might have one tiny variation, but now you're
Yep.
seeing a lot more variation. I mean, the thralls take it to a ridiculous amount, but for the
Mhm.
most part, everything in the Mechanicum release has been really good. I mean, I liked all the little extra antennas and everything that's been added to the Kragnos now. It's a really pretty tank, and it's a really good tank in the rules now.
Yep. But that is all of our previews and releases this time. That's nothing else is coming up right now.
Outstanding. Thank you, John.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, as we just talked at the top of the show, we have a very special guest, Chris Bergeron. Chris, how the heck you doing, man?
I'm doing great, dude. It has been since I was on the cast last. I mean, last year. It's been a whirlwind year. We got Bama Heresy on its feet. You guys have had Blake on a couple times. That thing is just taking a life of its own, and it's growing like fire. I mean, we had to cancel our event for snow, and I can't tell you that the January event when we canceled that thing, there was a lot of freaking soul searching that went on. We're like, if we cancel this, and we're a brand new group that's doing games, are we gonna turn everybody in the community off? We found exactly the opposite. Everybody was like, dude, thanks for making the decision of not making people travel and, you know, trying to thinking safety first and doing the right thing. And we immediately set it back up. We've moved that event to March 8th and 9th. And we'll be having that at High Ground Hobbies where I work now. And it's going to be a great event. This is our fourth event, but we actually have people flying in now. So it's gaining a life of its own. And if you're in the Southeast and you want to come to a great event, I highly recommend you guys, come down and make one of our events. It's a really good time. But other than that, like I said, we got the event rescheduled. It's going to be great. I think we've got 34. We've sold the entire store out. We'll be closing the store down from the public for those 2 days, which is something we rarely do. But we've maxed it. We've maxed out capacity. For now, we're actually expanding the store and putting a whole nother building on here in the near future. But last year, I reached out to the owner of High Ground Hobbies, Wes, who's a retired Army Ranger and pilot, and I said, "Hey, buddy, I've been gaming with you for a long time. Do you need somebody to paint for you? I know you've got a commission service, and I'm looking to get better." And he said, "Absolutely." He said, "When can you start?" And I went on vacation, started, and I've been putting between 35 to 40 hours in a week painting everything in the world. So it's been absolutely amazing. I don't think I would enjoy the commissioning gig if I was doing it just by myself at the house. It wouldn't be the same thing. But being in an office where we've got 5 other painters on average, even on slim days, we've got 3 painters in there painting. Just the banner that goes back and forth and the quantity of the projects that come across your desk. The other big thing is you never feel like you're the only guy doing something. Very rare does anybody in our shop cradle to grave anything. And just having people to help you out and learn from, it's taken my painting absolutely next level. So, which is the whole reason I took the job. So I know things are going great, and it's good to be back on. It's good to talk to you guys, and you guys are probably the biggest voice now in heresy in the United States, without a doubt.
Oh, that's
And
so
I
scary.
wanted to make sure we. Oh, dude,
Thanks, man.
it's been fun watching you guys grow. It really has. But and it's been so weird because there's so many other voices that have kind of like gone on hiatus. I'm like wondering where these guys are. It's like, hey, come on, Horace, get off your ass over there and freaking put a podcast out. And I mean, most of even the bigger casts are down to like once a month, and you guys have consistently hit it every week, and that's impressive. So, but no, so
I
it's
blame
going
Duncan.
great. Yeah. So, what questions do you guys have? So, I came on tonight just to talk about anything you want to know about freaking what we're doing down at Bama Heresy, what we're doing down at High Ground Hobbies and Stiff Neck Studio, the company I work for, or anything. I'm going to talk a little bit later about freaking what's going on with Adepticon because we are teaching some classes up there. So, but what questions do you guys have?
Let's kick off with Bama Heresy and High Ground Hobbies. Like, I know
I,
you and Blank, and I'm not sure how big of a team you all have down there, but you all have done, from everything that I've seen from here, you all have done everything right.
From it, honestly, it started. It was a couple other people freaking, and this is always seems to be the way it works in Heresy. It was Alex from Canada that reached out to me and said, "Hey, Chris, did you know you got a big time Heresy player down in Birmingham that's right in your backyard?" Because I was just looking for players, and because honestly there was very little Heresy action here in the Huntsville area, and I said, "No, I don't." And he linked me up with Blake, and I called Blake one night. We got talking for, dude, I think we were on the phone for 4 hours, and this is from not knowing the guy, and we just kind of hit it off. And by the end of the night, I was sitting down trying to come up with a logo for Bama Heresy and getting a Facebook group up. We got that stuff up within a week, and I think within the first 2 weeks, we had almost 24 people join, and
Yep.
It's just caught fire from there. I think we're approaching like 130 members, which are from the majority of the people on there. Very few people are just, you get some casuals when you start regional heresy pages that are from outside of your area, and they're just basically looking for a place to come talk, which is all cool. I mean, you're more than welcome. But people that are actually in our area and are going to come to events, I mean, we're hitting the over 100 mark, and it's just kind of nuts. So our first event had 6 people at it. Our second event, we were up to 20, and now we're selling the entire gaming store out, every table in the store. So
Yeah.
it's hitting like fire. And for me, being a heresy guy that here in Huntsville that was looking for heresy players, just the fact that we created this thing, I've got 6, I think, home run going heresy players here in Huntsville now that are starting to play regular. and building armies.
That's amazing.
So it's been good. It's been good. It's very much
Awesome.
if you build it, they will come.
Well, I am glad to see that you are being as successful as you are, um, and that you're close to us, and that hopefully I can make it down to an event sometime.
Dude, I really hope you guys can make it down. And like I said, full disclosure, I work for this company now. But High Ground Hobbies is a hobby experience unlike anything. Honestly, I think unlike anything in the Southeast. We've got, I think we're up to 16 tables just in the main store. We've got 3 different gaming areas. We've got mainly a card game area that we also do painting classes in. We've got a big, huge area we call the loft area, which is where the most of our gaming tables set up. And then we have 3 private gaming suites in the back. They're mainly for Dungeons and Dragons, but anybody can play anything back there. But they're even decorated. I mean, one's like a pirate's cabin. The other one we call the apothecary, and it's got like a Cthulhu, Victorian England, black kind of furniture-esque kind of thing going on. And then downstairs in the store, we've got a massive Airbnb, which is Game of Thrones themed. It's Sleep 6. So, which is the other thing about having events like Horus Heresy, is we actually have a venue where we have on-site billeting. So people can come down, rent that room, and 6 guys can go in and freaking have bunks. And like I said, it's all Game of Thrones themed. It's got castle walls inside. It's got swords hanging on the wall, big throne chair at the table. And it's just unlike any experience you've ever had. We were short parking for the business. So the boss went out. The lady that lived next door, she was getting older and she wanted to go into an assisted living. So he went and bought the house just so we could get the parking. But we've taken the 3-bedroom home that's next to us, and for the last 2 months, they've been completely renovating it, and they're turning it into an Airbnb that is Fallout themed. So they've put concrete like material up on all the interior walls. All the window panels have safety knockouts, so there's no natural light coming in. There's subway lighting in there now. I mean, it's just really hard to explain, but there'll be videos posted soon. The kitchen is being done in a 1950s theme. It's got appliances that look like they're from the 50s. It's got pink lighting. It's got your crazy leather red chairs. It's nuts. There's Fallout themed stuff all over the place. It looks like when you walk into it, you're actually in a bunker, and you're under the ground in a vault, and it really takes you back. And we'll be opening that space. It'll also sleep 12 comfortably. So, because we're actually putting some cots in there for the guys that really do big events and don't mind sharing rooms, but 6 in actual beds. And like I said, it's 3 bedrooms. So it's that kind of stuff. Having those things on site has been the thing that's really pole vaulted the store. And like I said, we're not just doing Heresy, we're doing everything. We've got a 40K tournament that goes on every month. We've got an active Old World League. We've got every type of card game you can imagine. I don't even understand half the card games they're playing in there. But it's really an amazing thing. Boss is really focused. He said that when he retired from the military, he wanted to create an experience that was unlike any experience that any other gaming store. He wanted no one to be able to compete with him because he was going to do everything, and he really just does not know how to do anything but do it 100%. So, which is it's an awesome thing to experience.
Okay, that's awesome. So, tell us about the upcoming event for Bama Heresy.
So it's going to be the Battle of Karos Prime. So actually, Destruction of Karos Prime. The last one was the battle. We had a weird thing happen at the last event where even with all the algorithm we put into it, we ended up in a pure tie between the traders and the loyalists, which I've been to a lot of events and I've never seen a pure tie when you have like 5 things that are going into the score. But we ended up with a pure tie. So me and Blake kind of looked at each other and said, hey, instead of going on to the next planet like we intended to do in this series, why don't we encourage people to bring destroyer type units, and let's all go all in and let's burn this place to the ground. So the theme of the event, you can look at the mission pack online, but basically if you bring in destroyers, it's a good thing. They gain line, kind of what LVO, a little bit of a riff of what LVO did this year. But we're going to have some missions that are centric on things like Phosphex. We're giving away a trophy this year for basically most war crimes committed. So it'll be intense. So it'll be a good event. Everybody's looking forward to it. Like I said, even the people that signed up for it and we had to move it, and we got texts and they were like, "We don't care when it is, just let us know when it's at." So it was we're all in. So we're plowing forward. We're gonna do that the 8th and 9th of March. If, like I said, we're sold out right now, but if you're in the area and you are can come to Huntsville and you want to see some amazing Heresy being played, we do a painting minimum like most Heresy events do. So really beautiful armies out there. Everybody's been 2 feet in with that, and it'll be a good time. So definitely come out.
So this one's currently sold out. Do you all have plans for more this
We
year?
do. Everybody is going to take the what we call the Adepticon break in event planning. Just because Adepticon is such a big thing on everybody's calendar that it's just silly to plan an event that competes with Adepticon, so we're not going to. We're looking at probably the July timeframe before we'll run our next one. We're doing some looks at the business and how many tables we can actually get in, because we're actually going to try to increase the number of tables we have at the next event. So I would like to, right now we're kind of capped at 34 just because of our layout. But we're thinking if we do the Heresy crowd and we move some games into the bunker right next door, that we may even be able to get that table amount up into the, or the player amount up into the 42 player zone. So look for that. Me and Blake are talking initially about how we're going to run it and what we're going to do. I think we've got some surprise plans to really shift the narrative of what we're doing to a completely different kind of world, the type of world that we hear talked about in sci-fi, but I don't think a lot of people have tried to pull it off. But we're going to try to pull some stuff off with space stations and agro worlds and freaking ice worlds and why we have ice planets and the logistics of feeding a war and some other stuff. So we've got some elements that we're going to pull in, but definitely stay posted. And I would say shortly after the March event and around the Adepticon timeframe, we'll be putting up on Bama Heresy what the next event's going to be. But definitely jump on it, because this last event we sold out in 5 days. The 34 slots we had.
Yeah, you all sold out very quickly. So,
dude, it's nuts. I mean, and a lot of it, I gotta do a shout out real quick to guys like Levi down at freaking Florida Heresy. The Florida Heresy crowd has been just freaking all in. We've got guys that are traveling from Pensacola and Tampa. Well, we got guys traveling from Tampa.
Yeah, that's
driving up from Tampa
crazy.
to come to an event. Dude, that is
like
nuts. I mean, that's almost the haul to Adepticon.
Yeah,
so for us here in Alabama, so yeah, it's been amazing to see, and it's proof positive that you put a good product out there. You've got quality tables, you've got a quality narrative, you've got a good group of people. It really does. This is something that everybody can grow in their own backyard. One of the neat things we've done on it as a side is I 3D print for another podcast, mainly World War II miniatures. But I've learned Mesh Mixer over the last couple of years, and we've been printing custom trophies, which are unlike a lot of the trophies that you see in the Heresy community. So every event, we print 3 to 4 custom trophies that are something that nobody's seen before. Different types of Space Marine busts or different types of Space Marine weapons for Duelist Champions and things like that. And like this year, the War Crimes trophy is a destroyer. So it's just the little things that people absolutely fall in love with. I mean, it's amazing to me what people will do for what's honestly a $10 trophy that's had 2 hours put into it. So people really want something unique to go forward with from an event, and that's one of the things we found pulls people in. It really does.
Cool. Well, if there's anything we here can do to help, I know for a fact that we will happily chip in and do anything we can to support you in that, because it just helps the hobby as a whole, and we're glad to do it, especially since y'all are friends.
Yep, we do raffles too. So every event, like this time, we're going to be raffling off a like I said, with 3D printing. I've gotten really good at FDM printing helmets, so full size helmets that you wear on your head. So we'll be doing a 20th Legion helmet this go round. So the Alpha Legion, we've got more Alpha Legion players than we have anything else. I think that's
Yeah, there was a bunch. The last
I think that's
event.
just about every Heresy event is you've got more Alpha Legion guys than anything else. So we're doing an Alpha Legion helmet. That'll be a fully painted helmet and that'll get raffled off at the event. So, but those things are just things that seem to draw people in.
Dig it. So, before you started talking about that, you mentioned that you had stuff that you're doing at Adepticon. Is it Heresy
I
related?
do. I'm teaching this year. I taught last year at Adepticon. Lead Pursuit Podcast, which is a World War II podcast. It's the other one that I'm associated with. I don't play World War II games a whole lot, but it's a very good old group of friends that I'm still very attached to. The head of the podcast lives here in Huntsville, and I teach for them. It's a way that we kind of fund our group going to Adepticon every year. I teach classes, they run the events on the World War II side, and between all of us, that's a pool of money that supports our endeavors that we do at Adepticon and keeps the side hustle that they've got going forward. And it's something I really enjoy doing. I've been teaching now. I mean, I taught most of the time I was in the Marine Corps, but it's just something I really enjoy. And we had both of our teaching classes last year at Adepticon were both sold out because we were one of the only ones that are teaching airbrush classes. So, but this year, Adepticon has committed to teaching more airbrush classes. So they're actually going to have an airbrush room. So don't know exactly what that entails. We're still trying to figure that out. I think a lot of people with Adepticon are trying to figure things out right now with the big move up to Milwaukee. But I'll be teaching both Thursday night and I'll be teaching Sunday night. On Thursday night, I'll be doing armor panel shading, which is basically a class on painting tanks. Whether it's a World War II tank or it's a Space Marine tank, they all kind of are the same thing, some of the same theory. It'll be the theory behind that. And then on Sunday night, I'll be teaching my Airbrush 101 class where I will be painting a smaller tank model, but it's more about how do you use an airbrush? I mean, it's for starters. How do you mix paint? What are the different types of paint? Why do you do things this way? What do you do when you get a clog? That type of stuff. I find that that's really rewarding. I use an airbrush now. Like I said, I'm painting 7 to 8 hours a day. I'm mainly the airbrush guy in the studio. I'm not the hairy stick guy. The girls that sit next to me are mainly the hairy stick painters. I'm a decent hairy stick painter, but I'm much better with the airbrush. And the airbrush is the greatest equalizer in the hobby game that I have found in all of my hobby experience. And if you have a skilled teacher, and I can think guys like Matt Kane and Caleb from CK Studio, those two guys took my hobby from being Joe Schmo that has a 2-color minimum or 3-color minimum army that's basically washed in Agrax after it's rattle canned to stuff that's shaded and is winning painting awards. And it wasn't that I had any natural talent. It was that I had some very good teachers teach me the technical skills behind the airbrush. And I think a lot of people that start the airbrush get really intimidated by it because it is a bear when you first start, because it clogs. You're worried about messing it up. You've invested a lot of money, and I think that there's a lot of stuff that you can unpack for people in a very brief, short time. And like I said, every time we've done an airbrush 101 class, I've done them here at the store too. We sold out the one in Huntsville. Everybody that comes to that class says, thank you, thank you, thank you. This was worth every dime I put into it because I now know I've identified 5 things I was doing wrong. And it's amazing to see within just a couple months the pictures that are coming back from students of what they're doing. And so yeah, that's what we're doing at Adepticon. I'll be up there. I'll also be playing in the doubles with Jeremy. So for Heresy and hanging around the Heresy room. Like I said, I'm only teaching Thursday and Sunday night, which is kind of nice because it's bookends on opposite ends, and then I'm free to do whatever I want the rest of Adepticon.
Yeah, I was going to
Cool.
say, it lets you actually get some games in.
Oh,
You realize-
absolutely.
You realize we're gonna have a grudge match of yourself and Jeremy versus myself and Jack, right?
Yeah, but
Are you going to abandon me this time, Duncan?
We're gonna
No.
switch this year. Duncan, you're with me, and Jack, you're with Jeremy. And what I demand, Jack, is that you run some of the same bullshit you ran last year with an army that walks 6 inches across the board and doesn't have any freaking ballistic weapons. None. So I move at 6 inches, but I've got to get close enough to punch you. Come on, Jack, man. You're killing me, man.
Oh, it's okay. He's going to have an entirely different army this year.
Are you bringing all rotor cannons this year, or are you bringing all Land Raider? I heard you saying you had like 8 Land Raiders on the desk. I was like, okay, so Duncan basically swapped all of his rotor cannons for Land Raiders. That's what I heard.
No,
well,
I swapped.
He has like 8 billion. What are they? Not Ravagers. They're
Rampagers.
Rampagers. It's like over 70 of them.
You just like to roll dice, dude. That's
So
what
I have
learned about Duncan. Duncan just likes to roll dice. He likes to roll buckets of dice.
So the current 4K list is 6 troop squads of Rampagers with Phalanx Blades and Land Raiders, 2 elites of Rampagers with Phalanx Blades and Land Raiders, and either a generic Praetor or Karn, depending.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That would be sweet.
Yeah. So that's also the team list.
Man, so we wouldn't be able to team up because my guys absolutely hate world eaters.
So
I guess I would.
The fact that you have the Warhounds is great and is wonderful. Hopefully we can meet in the team game. So is Jeremy bringing Warhounds as well?
No, Jeremy is going to bring Sagyr Marzan this year. So he's increasing. Jeremy is the most prolific painter I've ever met in my life. Meeting him in Germany was number one. It saved me from the doldrums I was in when I first moved there, because there was just nobody I had anything in common with at first. Traveling was great. Being in Germany with my wife was great. But when I finally found that one heresy buddy, it really made things go easy. And like I said, I think Jeremy's probably up to 9 or 10 heresy armies right now.
Jesus.
And dude, I've never met a more prolific painter. He finished his White Scars, which, when I say finished, he added about 3,000 points in the last couple months to what was already a 3,000 point army with custom decals and custom designs, all kinds of stuff. And then the other day I opened up my freaking feed and he's got freaking Space Wolves on there. I'm like, dude, you never even talked about Space Wolves. He's like, yeah, I bought some models a while ago. I think I'm going to do like a 3,000 point army of Space Wolves. I'm like, dude. And that was a cool thing about playing with him in Germany, was like, I felt bad for him because I was either playing Mechanicum or Death Guard, but every time I showed up, it was a different army on the table. I never played the same army twice with him almost.
Well, I can tell you what Jack's army is for the doubles as well, if you want.
What's that?
He's got 30 Rampagers with Phalanx Blades and Land Raiders, led by either generic freighter or another generic freighter.
So Jack's playing the same thing?
Yeah. We're playing the same army because I'm painting the entire army. Because Jack has been too busy to actually paint a new army for Dethroned this year.
Oh, and he doesn't want to bring his Ultramarines out.
No, those are going to be 26. Jesus,
you got like 20,000 points of freaking Ultramarines already.
Yeah, but I gotta like double it and then possibly double it again.
I mean, every time I look at your feed, it's like, oh look, I just added a freaking a brand new Thunderhawk already.
Stormburner.
I just added a Mastodon. I just added freaking 4 Charybdis to my freaking Ultramarines. It's like, dude.
You can never have too many Ultramarines, sir. Never. Ask John.
As a full-time trader, I would totally disagree.
I think you can never have too many Phalanx Blades either, but that's just
you
me.
Can't. That is probably the best close combat weapon in the game.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Especially since the entire army cannot score at all. That's my favorite part of this army.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why the Sagyr Marzan is just such a brutal freaking list to go up against. So with not being able to score VPs on the guys for killing them, it's just it'll be interesting to see when we get into this whole 2.5 or 3.0 that's coming down the road, how some of these things are going to be dealt with. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Well,
so what other questions you guys got?
Well, I think the first thing that I have is I want to affirm some of the stuff you said about going to airbrush classes and the benefits of those classes and making use of an airbrush as a better tool from those classes. I wholeheartedly agreed with everything you said. Like, me and Duncan both did the Matt Cain class. I don't even
Oh,
remember
I
how many
remember.
years
I remember
ago.
when Matt Cain chewed you both out too for acting like a bunch of teenagers in the back of the room.
First off, not my fault.
I'm going to blame Nick because Nick was there. Or maybe Jacob, because Jacob was there too.
I'll never forget, man. You guys were cutting up like you were like 13 years old in middle school and like poking each other and talking. And Matt was sitting there, had us all school circle around him, and Matt in the stature that Matt is. And when he looked over those glasses, the top of his glasses at the three of you, and he just got deathly silent. Everybody got silent but you guys, and it took like 3 seconds for you guys to realize what was going on. It
Look,
was priceless.
it's not just class clown, it's lunacy. We're all fucking insane. So
It
it's
was
fun.
funny, dude. It was funny. It was like the Geico Gecko freaking unleashes on the freaking middle schoolers. It was awesome.
Jesus Christ, that's a good way of putting it. It really is.
Oh my God. But no, seriously, dude. I mean, I encourage anybody who, if you're struggling with the airbrush, take a class. And I'll also say, don't take one class. And don't just go on YouTube and watch one person's videos, because I can tell you, just in the last couple of weeks, I watch just about every airbrusher that's out there's videos. I watch them for work just so I know different types of paint schemes that we can integrate into paint schemes at work. Everybody in this freaking trade is stealing from everybody else. There is no freaking IP when it comes to paints or techniques. But I can tell you that just specifically in the last 3 weeks, what I would consider one of the biggest names in our hobby, that everybody goes to his page. He's absolutely massive. He did a class on airbrushing, and there were things he said about the airbrush that are fundamentally untrue, that are not even the way an airbrush works. So I'll just say, take a lot of people's opinions in when you're taking opinions in, because not everybody out there works for Harder and Steinbeck and is actually trained in how an airbrush works. So there'll be things in everybody that teaches that you'll get something out of them, and there'll also be things that you'll learn from different teachers that will within a couple weeks you'll realize is trash. But there is nothing outside of taking classes that will level you up faster. So, but like I said, just get as many inputs as you can. One of the reasons why classes are so important is because YouTube, for all of the value we get out of YouTube is not having somebody standing over your shoulder. YouTube doesn't tell you exactly the way paint interacts with the airbrush, and it doesn't give you a second set of eyes over your shoulder saying, nope, your paint's too thick. No, your paint's too thin. What did you put in that paint? It really does help to have somebody standing over your shoulder, even if it's just for 2 days. There's nothing that will level you up faster.
It lacks the practicality side, the physical experience and hands-on side.
Yep.
You can replicate the actual feel for going through the process, but you can't actually do the process without actually doing the process.
Yep.
I'll agree there. Learning and actually doing it with instruction, there to sit there and say, no, you need to do this. You're holding it back too far. You're putting too much pressure in it. That really did help me.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's nothing that when I took that first class from Matt with you guys, just him walking up and saying the angle of your brush is wrong.
Yeah.
It did everything for me, and him explaining to me that, you got to think that your eyeball is on the end of your airbrush, and your airbrush is only going to put paint on things it can see. So if you're thinking about seeing from the tip of your airbrush and the paint can't go anywhere it can't see, I mean, that just like opened up freaking just angled masking to me, which that's one of the biggest things with airbrushing. Not putting masking tape on the object, but holding the object in a way where paint's not going to hit what you don't want it to hit. And it's that kind of theory that really, in the long run, it helps you more than anything.
Got to agree in every single way about that. Got to agree.
I do have a question for you, Chris.
Yeah, man.
So with all of your experience that you've gained through becoming friends with very, very highly skilled painters and becoming a highly skilled painter yourself, don't be humble, you know you are. Um, do you find yourself changing a lot in the process of how you tackle different projects as you come to them, or do you have a fairly refined process that you go through as you're painting models? I mean, I know you probably get a good variety now that you're doing the commission paint work,
Yeah.
but a Space Marine's a Space Marine, and how many times or how many ways can you skin a cat at the end of the day? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I'll say the biggest things that becoming a commission painter, where a lot of things move across my desk. In the last week, for instance, I finished an Imperial Fist commission where I was responsible for all of the weathering on the vehicles and all of the decaling on them. And the person, this specific army will be at Adepticon, and I can tell you that there are between 5 to 7 decals on every infantry model that's in the freaking army. It looks freaking gorgeous.
Nice.
And then we moved from there. I know it's at John level of decaling. So so we moved on from there, and then we had to finish at the same time simultaneously while we were doing this commission. My boss turned to me one day and said, "Hey, I know because we have a couple satellite painters that we use too, that are not on site that do painting underneath the Stiffneck brand. They're all several in the United States and 2 overseas, but we had a Warlord Titan come in, and I had finished the back end of the Warlord, or not the Reaver Titan and the 2 Warhounds that we had done for this specific client. A very specific ask. He wanted Titans that look like they belong to the freaking Night Lords. Basically they had fallen to the Night Lords and they wore Night Lords colors, and he wanted lightning all over them and everything else. And my boss turned to me and said, "Hey, we don't have time in this turnaround on this one to send this off to have somebody else do it and then have it finished. Can you tackle this Warlord on your own? I can't dedicate anybody else in the shop right now to it because of the amount of projects we got. Chris, can you handle this in 2 weeks?" And he literally turned to me, and I was like, yeah. So, and I can tell you that painting Imperial Fist 1 minute and micro decaling, and then moving to doing a Warlord Titan and doing it fast, efficiently, and really what I would consider really good, really well. It's 2 totally different types of painting. And then when the Warlord left my desk, literally the minute the Warlord left my desk, I had the $600 Weathertop model terrain piece hit my desk. And it was like, I need Weathertop painted in 8 hours. I need it done in a day. So I'm halfway through Weathertop, and then the client that was asking for their Imperial Fist said, "Hey, by the way, I would like Dorn added, and I need it quick." And we stopped everything we were doing, and 4 artists put 4 hours apiece into Dorn and produced what I would consider to be a top shelf Dorn. It's not Golden Demon, but it's damn close. But so it's things like that. You move from thing to thing. What you were saying, Brian, am I learning to apply the same techniques? No, I'm learning that every different type of model has different techniques that are applied to it. We only have one standard at my office, so we don't have like some paint services do, where you have a tabletop standard, a high tabletop standard, and a Golden Demon standard. No, we paint everything what we consider to be high tabletop. So you're going to have edge highlights where they're appropriate. You're always going to have weathering. You're always going to have decaling. You're always going to have glow effects on everything. That really means that you basically, you do have to do everything's okay. What am I looking for? I'm getting my words mixed up. You've got to be able to adjust to whatever comes to your table. And the way you do that is you have to have a toolbox that's full of skills already. 1 minute you might be painting terrain. The next minute you're painting individual miniatures in a Kingdom Death commission. And every one of them are different.
So you find yourself approaching every project with a whole new. Okay, we're
You
doing it.
would think
Bang,
you
bang,
would think
bang.
you would well, you would think you would do that, but honestly, the amazing thing about this job is you don't have time to think.
You just do it.
The stuff comes to your desk so quick, and you're not, like I said, you're not necessarily cradle to graving any miniature. I cradle to graved the Warlord Titan, with the exception of a little bit of lightning. One of the brush painters, Trinity, who sits next to me, is one of the best brush painters I have ever seen, and she jumped in and helped me out at the end of the commission. She was like, "Chris, I'll help you out with the lightning." So, because doing lightning effects, if anybody's ever done lightning, the randomness of lightning and getting lightning to look right, especially on Warlord size panels, it's not easy. So, it's complicated, but it having her help really helped me. But what I'm saying is, you very rarely are the guy that's got to do everything in the model. When the projects hit my desk, typically it's Chris, put all the bases down, it's get the pre-shades done, it's get initial colors on, and then they'll go away and advanced brushwork will be done to them, and then they'll come back to my desk with beautiful brushwork all over them, and then it's like, hey, don't mess them up, but put some weathering on them. So yeah, but the beautiful thing is, you don't have the time to stress out about it. And my boss, he never stresses you out about it. He's like, dude, whatever we do, we're all learning, we're all going to fix it. The first time I had a Reaver Titan that was completely painted get put on my desk, and my boss said, hey, take that Dremel right there, and I need you to cut spikes all over this model, and then I want you to take these clumps of bodies and wrap barbed wire around them, put blood on them, and put them all over it, because this is a Night Lord's commission. And I was literally dremeling into what was probably at that point $3,000 between the Titan and the paint that was already on it. And it's just, you just got to do it. You just go in and do it. And if something goes wrong, hey, we fix it. So I don't know if that answers the question, or if I just went in a big circle back to nowhere, but basically you approach every project differently. Yes, you have basic skills. Yes, you can paint a Space Marine 1,000,000 times, but light theory is light theory, color theory is color theory. So, and once you learn those things and you learn how to do them quickly, dude, it really becomes exponential. It just kind of compounds itself, and it gets a lot easier to do.
I'm going to go ahead and say, before I took that class with Matt Kane that you were at, I know I'd heard of color theory before that, but I'd never actually seen it done in front of me in action and presented in a way that clicked. So
Oh yeah.
when I saw it with him, it actually clicked, and that's honestly when I went from having a rattle can 3 minimum paint army like you did to what I have these days. And
Well, speaking of Matt,
it's amazing the stuff you can do.
Speaking to him specifically, I mean, I took 2 classes with him in the States. I took the Primarch class, and I took the Rhino class. But then when I went to Germany, Matt was like, "Hey, man, would love for you to come up sometime and just hang out." And I said, "Yeah, dude, I'd love to come up. No problem. I'll come up and hang out with you." And he said, "Hey, by the way, if you want to come up and hang out in like 8 weeks, I'm doing a Dreadnought class. Would you like to take it?" And I was like, "Sure." But a Walker class with Matt Kane, absolutely. Go to freaking Warhammer World with Matt. So I went and took that class, and when you're saying color theory, Matt looked at me, I'll never forget this, and I'm painting my little freaking, I was doing a Leviathan Dreadnought, and for my Death Guard. And I'm all proud of this model. I've got all these shadows in it, and I've got all these very greens and everything else. And I looked over at him, I was sitting next to him, I said, "What do you think?" And he looked at me and goes, he gets that Matt Kane look where he's kind of like, he's happy for you, but he's kind of disappointed in you at the same time. He's that whole British drill instructor kind of look. And he goes, "Man," he goes, "it looks good, but those shadows are boring." And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, how can a shadow be boring? And I looked at, how is a shadow boring, Matt? And he goes, "There's no color in it." I said, "Well, yeah, shadows are black." He goes, "No, dude, shadows aren't black." He goes, shadows have a cast. You have the ability to do a whole other thing with just a shadow." He goes, "Put some purple in those shadows." And I was like, "Purple?" And he goes, "I'm painting a Death Guard army." He goes, "Put some purple in the shadows." So I grabbed some Magos purple. I fire a little bit of purple in the shadows. Oh my God. Automatically the whole green freaking scheme in the Death Guard started looking like it was infected. It was bruised. It was like boom. And it's light bulb moments like that you get from taking painting classes with people that are very skilled artists that go on. And now in my painting now, freaking, if I'm doing a blue army and I've got shadows in it, I'm pumping orange in there, or I'm pumping a red in there. and you're getting those contrasting colors and starting to understand this theory. And that's what really takes, especially with the airbrush, the painting to the next level, is understanding the color theory.
I'll agree there. I'm not saying I'm a world class painter. I will never compliment myself that well. But I will say I've gone a long way from where I used to be, and that is entirely because I took that class and learned from people who were better than me at doing this. And I encourage anybody out there who's listening, who is thinking about getting into airbrushing, to take some of these classes. Take them to Adepticon. Take them wherever they're available. Um, Taking the intro to airbrushing class was like, Chris, probably one of the best options you can do.
How often
Yeah,
do you
my
do those classes down there?
Well, we've only done short form classes in Huntsville because dude, this business has only been open for like 2 years,
Okay.
and we're really growing fast. So we've done 4 short form painting classes. We've done some brushwork classes. We've done my airbrush class, and we did a bus class, and we did basically a Blanchitsu painting grimy stuff class. We basically rotate through the artists. The plan is for us to do a longer form class in the future, and no promises, but I do talk regularly with Matt, and once we have the space and we have everything opened up, the plan in the future is to try to get Matt over here to teach a long form class over a weekend. So, and to teach some longer form classes. What I mean by long form or short form classes are like you take at Adepticon. You're talking 2 to 3 hours max, and you can learn things in those classes. But long form classes, you're looking at investing a weekend and painting an entire model from prime coat all the way to finishing. And it's both of those classes have value for the money, but I can tell you that there is nothing that will, like I said, I keep using the term level up. There's nothing that will level you up faster than taking a 2-day painting class with the
Yeah, I
airbrush
took
with somebody that's
when I first started going to Adepticon, I took 24 hours worth of classes and walked away just blown. But when I got to a CK Studios long airbrushing class where I was doing just one model over almost 2 days, complete night and day difference. Like I enjoy the short form classes if you're just picking like one skill to kind of increase the level of, but
if,
the overall
that's
class is it's night and day different.
the big problem with a lot of short form classes. I'm not dinging anybody at Adepticon. They're all great artists, but sometimes they try to just cram too much into a 2-hour class. And
Yep.
honestly, in a 2-hour class, like I said, I'm teaching an armor shading class. I'm going to teach you to apply color basically to the armor panels of a tank and get the shading right. And that's what you're getting out of that class. But I'm telling you what, if you take that class, you're going to be able to set a small miniature on the table, and people are going to look at it and go, "Wow, that's got gradients and it's got shading, and that's something you can teach in 2 hours." Now, painting all the tread and all the tanks and all the lenses and putting decals on, that's something you can only get from a long form class. And like I said, highly recommend. So I wish Matt was still teaching a lot more long form classes, but he's a career UK military guy, so he's only got so much time to teach at this point in his career. Maybe when we get him retired, he'll be teaching more. But hopefully we can get him back into doing things like that, because I know that everybody's taking classes from him. I can't think of a better teacher than Matt. And probably the reason why I love Matt's teaching technique so much is being a prior Marine. I really appreciate taking classes from people that don't blow smoke up my ass. So I have taken classes, and not a dig at anybody other than Matt, but I've taken a lot of classes where you do something that's half-assed and people will come up behind you because you're paying, and they'll say, and they want you to take more classes and say, that's really creative. Where Matt Kane will look at you and go, you fucking did that wrong. Prime it, repaint it, start over. And you're not doing the technique right. And there is a massive difference between that. And there's some people that don't take teaching from people that teach that way very well. But I'll tell you that you learn a lot more from those teachers. So take the criticism on board, and you really want instructors that are going to look at you and go, that's not right. So that's nice, but I need you to do it this way so you really learn something. That really helps.
It worked for me. And I was sitting there going, I'm not going to get anything out of this, thinking I was going to be like, I'll get a little bit, but no. I got enough to change everything about how I do it. So cannot endorse enough, truly.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys, I bent your ears a lot. I've got a wife that's still healing from surgery, so I've got about 10 more minutes if anybody's got any parting shot questions for me. And thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. So
No, thank you
please
for
come to
being here,
Bama
brother.
Heresy. Please join Bama Heresy.
Yeah, appreciate the hell out of you coming on tonight.
Yep. I'll try to get on in the future. So this is fun. So somewhere down the road, we'll talk about stuff other than commission painting and airbrushing and just get into.
So I got a couple of questions. Where can
Yeah, man.
people find your what you've done? What are some best channels for them to follow?
If you go to Forge World at Odessa Binary, which I know that's a kind of crazy little handle, but on Instagram, it's just Forge World _ Odessa _ binary. That's my little Forge World that I created where my Magos is from, and that's always been my Instagram handle, and I've just kept it over the years. You can also find me of course, on Facebook like everybody else is. I don't do the TikToks. I'm just grandpa too old to TikTok, but I'm on Instagram a lot. If you're looking for commission work and you're looking to hire a studio, you can reach out to Stiffneck Studio. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're just about everywhere. So I don't do any, please don't contact me and ask me if I can paint your army. Everything goes through my boss. I don't talk to customers. I get in statements of requirement from my boss and I execute them. So if you're interested in working with Stiffneck Studio, just reach out to the Stiffneck Studio at gmail.com. And if you're interested in High Ground Hobbies, we're on Facebook. We're also on Instagram. Facebook's probably the best place to get information about us. But there's also a really good YouTube video that we had professionally shot for High Ground Hobbies out there. It shows the Airbnb, it shows the gaming spaces and everything. And for those looking to come down, I mean, I know I'm pimping the business hard, but we also have a full service cafe in the business, which is a big Benny. So we do pizzas and we do tacos and we do all kinds of food and stuff in there. So in the middle of your game, you don't even have to leave. You just you walk 10 feet and you say, hey, I want a pepperoni pizza. And while you're gaming, the pepperoni pizza shows up. I mean, it really is a freaking full service freaking gaming store.
So I'm trying to make it up for at least one day of the event, but like I've already got soccer season going right now, and that's
Oh, I
why
know, dude.
I couldn't make both days. So even if it's just to hang out, I owe it to y'all, especially, I mean, with Blake. I mean, he works with me. So.
Saturday night we'll be in the bunker. We'll be some of the first people that will actually be staying in. We're calling it Vault 256 because 256 is the area code.
Yep.
So we'll actually be over in the vault and we'll be having some beers. So if you can get up Saturday night and hang out, or just Saturday and hang out. So me and Blake plan on being at the vault with a bunch of the players and just hanging out that night. So letting our hair down. So come on up, man. You guys all of you guys are welcome.
It'd be real tough. I have a game until 8:00 at night.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool. So get up on, even if it's just Sunday. So
yeah,
I
want to come up. I really want to, because there was no way I was going to be able to make the one previously that was scheduled, but this one I was like, yeah, I'm hopeful. And then they dumped soccer season on me 3 weeks early. So
yeah. Oh, I get it, dude. I was there, but it was years ago. My kids are grown. So I got one graduating from Alabama and heading to Auburn for vet school, and the other one's in the Army. So that's one of the reasons why I get a good thing to do. What's that?
That's my turf. So
yeah, I know. We're a house divided.
No. Like vet school. Like
vet school. Yeah.
That I did. I was pre-vet, and then I also worked a lot across the street at the animal science unit at the horse unit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we were thrilled when Mike got accepted freaking vet school at Auburn. So
I'll tell you firsthand, that is a major accomplishment. So
dude, we know. They only take 30 students from freaking the state of Alabama, and they take 20 from freaking the state of Kentucky, and then they take 50 from the rest of the freaking country.
Yep.
So yeah, kid did good. Kid busted his butt. So, but anyway, other questions?
I can't remember if you discussed it, but how did you end up meeting, like, with the Stiff Neck Studio guy, your boss basically originally.
He's our local. It's our local gaming store. So Doug, my buddy from LPP, I've known Doug since he was a captain and I was a young sergeant back in the Marine Corps, and moved here to the same area. Doug and I used to go to Adepticon together, and Doug started taking me out. I played Aeronautica every Monday night out at the gaming store and just got to be buddies with him. I mean, Wes is the kind of guy, like I said, he was an enlisted Ranger and then freaking went through one of the officer commissioning programs, ended up flying Kiowa Warriors and was an Army aviator. But he was always, kind of like the rest of us are that are in the military that are into this hobby. We're kind of like closeted nerds. Right. And, he's a total alpha male when you meet him, but at the same time, I mean, his biggest passion in life is right now is building his lizard army, and playing Old World. So just a really unique dude. And you get that military vibe going. So and there's so many, I mean, Huntsville is a military town.
Yeah,
so
it's military.
There's so many military people up here. And even some of the Bama Heresy guys, we've got Florida National Guardsmen, we've got retired Navy guys down in Birmingham. That is definitely a clique. So that's how I fell in with High Ground Hobbies. And I wanted to find something that was going to challenge me to level my own hobby up. I mean, you can paint in your freaking basement all day long, but
it's different when you go from painting as a hobby to painting as a job, which that's your job. I mean,
it's not just painting as a job. I've got people on either side of me, and those people are artists, and those people are helping me out, and they're pointing things out I'm doing wrong, and I call it cross-pollination. And it's just you're in this, it's just this beautiful freaking think tank of freaking creatives. And you're getting stuff done, and you've got a guy. I mean, Wes is a Golden Demon level painter. He's never won one because he doesn't give a damn about them. Right. But his stuff is absolutely gorgeous. But he honestly, because he's running a business, he probably gets to paint for 8 hours a day. Or I mean, a week. So most of his time is spent running the business and renovating freaking Airbnbs. So, but having him there to teach and guide, and I mean, my studio manager is a 25-year-old girl. And Trinity is just freaking, she's a homeschooled kid, freaking, and she is just on it, dude. Nobody paints skin the way she wet blends skin. And then right now on the other side of me, I've got Margaret, who's a trained art student from college. She's in her 30s, and she can dry brush like nobody's business. And
sure, it helps
with you all. And bone, and dude, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure it helps, like, not just you, but it helps them, like, having so much, like, ability to just, like, direct feedback between the whole group, the collective or whatever, to, like, bounce ideas off or, like, different stuff that you would not normally think about.
Yeah. And I can say I've just with brush skills, I looked at Trinity when I first got there, and I said, look, I'm Harry skilled freaking, I'm Harry stick inept. So I can paint some eye lenses when I have to, but it's going to take me about freaking day to get through freaking 20 Marines and paint them pretty. And I just can't do things well. I can't wet blend well. And she was like, we'll work on it. And freaking, she's really helped me out, dude. Freaking, there have been projects I took on. I painted, I think it's called the Red Skull from the Marvel Crisis Protocol, or whatever that guy's name is. But I painted like his cube and everything, and did all the gradients on it, and did the gradients on the black. And that's something that only a couple months before I couldn't do, but it's having people next to you and watching how they do things and being able to sit over their shoulder and watch the way and get criticism from other artists. That's positive and negative when it needs to be. I mean, we have times in the studio where we look at each other and go, you screwed up those hard edge highlights. Bad. So it happens. And
I'm sure, like,
we got to fix those.
The volume, and also just the varied different, because you're not always painting, gray plastic Marines. You're painting.
There's a beautiful thing. Yep. There's a beautiful thing about not getting to choose what you paint, because you don't get to hide behind the things that make you good.
Right. No, I totally get it.
Yep.
I mean, like, I just know, I'm not, trust me, I don't pretend to be an awesome painter or anything like that. But, like, just the volume of Marines that I've had to paint in my lifetime because of, the Toys for Tots stuff that I've done, I get it. I totally get it. And, like, I get burnt out Like, and I'm sure like you have before, just like any painter that they hit that wall, they're just like, I can't do this anymore. It's so
And
boring.
we do. Wes calls them side quests, which is
Right.
kind of funny.
Right.
But it's fun things like we're painting a lot of 30K helmets for different things, and
Right.
we're painting some 40K helmets too. And it's having the ability when you're stressed out. Like there were several times when I was painting that Warlord where I would just get to the point where it's like, dude, you know how much metal's on a Warlord? Or you know how many
Yes.
armor panels on a Warlord?
Yeah.
I look at guys like David
they're
Sampson
big.
and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you do this freaking, this is
Yeah.
what you do. So, but it was nice to be able to step away and say, no, I'm going to paint another Lord's helmet today. And that's a 4 hours with work painting a helmet. You're mainly doing it with rattle cans and masking tape, but it gives you a break and you get to move between things. So, and there are times where literally the boss will walk in and go, hey, we got a D&D meeting this weekend. And I promised one of the Adventure League players that we're going to do a custom miniature for them because they've been with us a long time. And he'll just set it on somebody's desk and say, hey, paint this. So you get it really gets you outside your comfort zone. It makes you do things that you just wouldn't do, and because of that, your skill set it grows so much faster. So
And
I
know
highly encourage people that are interested in getting to be a better painter to find ways to paint things that you wouldn't necessarily paint, if that makes sense.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean
get
that
into
I agree.
one-off.
I agree. I try to I know it doesn't seem like it, but in the past I will try and challenge myself because I'll pick stuff that like not necessarily that I wouldn't normally do. Like I wouldn't pick it like that army or this color combination or like even like with Brian from Texas, I'll bounce ideas off of him for paint colors and stuff with them. I'm like, dude, that's like what's the thought process behind this color combination or like how you're doing that, and then we'll go through it and then I'll paint a test model with it, just the generic like Rhino or Dudesman, and like then I'll be like, oh yeah, like this is good, this works, but like I would have never thought of it unless I had somebody else like basically not force me into it, but prod me into it to like just try it out, which I would normally wouldn't have.
I do that with the NPCs. Like I'll take a handful of guys whenever I go on a work trip. If I know I've got time, I'll take a handful of guys and maybe 10, 15 paints, but not necessarily the paints that I think I want to use for the project. So if I'm painting flesh, I'll grab weird colors and stuff like that, just to try to push myself into oddball situations, like trying to paint non-Caucasian faces and things like that. So just to kind of push myself in different directions that I haven't done.
I'll say the probably the most challenging thing that pops in the studio, honestly, is getting an army where you're adding on to an army that some other studio did, and you get sent pictures or you get sent a miniature. We did it the other day with a Night House army, and we had no idea what paint was on those models, but we had to paint a whole group of knights to match it. And it was just that is where you really earn your freaking money.
Oh
is
yeah.
when you can identify. I was like looking at these exhaust vents that were on the Halverans, and we were trying to figure out what color it was. And I remember I kind of laughed. I said, "That's English uniform." And the only reason I know that is because that's one of Matt's colors that he uses in his freaking his gold recipes for doing non-metallic metal. And I went over and I grabbed the English uniform from the AK bin and freaking and it was spot on. And that was one of those moments where you actually feel good. You're like, oh my God, I'm like identifying a freaking
Like, yay, I got
exactly. I mean, and that is the other thing about being in a studio like I'm in and now too, is I've got 5 different paint lines in my studio. I there is not a product I can't reach out and touch.
Right.
So and that is fun. That is fun. It is neat having everything at your disposal that you need to do a job. We don't go for the whole reason Wes has run a studio for I think 10 years, 12 years. He was doing it as a side hustle when he was in the military. But the whole reason he built the hobby shop was he was tired of not being able to get freaking product to paint because he was having a hard time getting it through retailers for his customers, and he was tired of dealing with paint companies and paying freaking retail, and he was like, dude, I'm just gonna open a damn hobby store. I'm gonna do it all, soup to nuts. And that's what he did, and it works. But I do have to wrap up, guys. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Like I said,
No. We understand. We appreciate the hell out of you coming in, man.
Dude, it's been a blast, and I will definitely get back to see you guys.
No, thank you.
And thank you for coming on.
Absolutely, man. Well, you guys take it easy. Thanks, and please, I mean, like I said, the old like and subscribe. Look up Bama Heresy. Reach out and touch us. If you guys need something, you holler. So Duncan, I may not have time to paint some helmets for you, but I am going to send you some helmets in the mail. So you need to reach out to me and get me your address. So I will send you.
I will send you that in the mail, or send you that
shortly,
shortly.
brother.
Send you that in the mail.
Yeah, I'll
Send me
send
that
that
over
to you.
over the
internet.
over the internets. I think that's what we call them. So
Yeah,
that's what the
that's
kids
what they
call 'em.
say.
Thank you,
I'll send
Chris.
that to you shortly.
All right, you guys take it easy. Good night.
Good night, man.
All right,
All right, Chris.
bye, buddy.
I just realized we forgot to mention one thing in the news. We mentioned before a little bit about the upcoming Gundam miniature game. There was a kind of news release this week that it looks like that game has been pushed back to undetermined time 2026.
Is it a Kickstarter or they're doing it on their own?
They're doing it on their own.
Okay.
All right. Well, gentlemen, given how long we've run with Chris being here, and I'm not complaining about that in any way, shape, form, or fashion, I think we've about run the topics tonight. What do you all think?
Yeah.
Well,
This is a pretty good episode.
yeah, I'm happy with it. Well, Brian, would you like to tell John to tell Jack to take us out of here?
Jamie, tell Jack to tell Duncan to tell John to tell other Brian, take us out of here.
I'm not playing the telephone game like with divorced parents. Hit
Odin,
it, guy.
Odin, take us out of here.
Let's shut it down, boys.
You heard him, man. Y'all be good. Stay accountable to yourself, your buddies, and your hobby. There you go. That's the thing.
Yep, that's the thing.
There you go.
Like and subscribe, and see ya.